not everything that comes out of my fingers is good at all. I get lucky most of the time. I mean, most of the best stuff I've done has just been come from luck and preparation meeting, but a lot of it is luck. So, being a perfectionist doesn't mean you have to work yourself to the bone. It just means you have to know when you've got something perfect. And when you do, then you move on and do something else.
What's up, everybody? It's Keefy at GhostColdManic.com. And from the future, we are joined by Marty Friedman. How are you doing today, sir?
What's going on? How's yesterday looking over there?
Friday night in California, looking pretty sunny and very comfortable.
Nice to see you, man.
Nice to see you. It's been a long time. We met several times back in the day, in the Megadeth days, and I have been a long-time fan and follower, and I am so equally excited for your solo music and anything else you're doing in the world. I just feel like you've always been just a wonderful, great ambassador for guitar and all music as well.
Oh, thank you very much. What a great start that is. Cool.
You do enough of these, you should be able to kind of have a little panache. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what the number is. I think I've either performed or been to 6,000 plus shows since I'm 4 years old. I don't know how many interviews I've done in 15 years as a journo, but it's a lot. And I don't know if you're one of these artists that tracks like every single gig you ever did. I know Skolnick is like has like a log or something. And Frank Turner, also the artist, he shouts out like what number show this is at every one of his shows. But yeah, man, we're going to talk about your new album Drama coming out on Frontiers SRL. But first things first, man, you've had I'm sure a very crazy and busy year. How have you been? How's life? How's life as Marty Friedman?
It's been the busiest last 6 months, probably in my entire career. I'm absolutely astounded that I've handled it this well. I haven't had a day off, and I don't see a day off coming until mid-June. Just things keep happening, and I can't turn down things that I've been waiting to do for so long. And just one thing after, it feels like I've built up some good karma along the way, and it's all coming at the same time. I just hope that I can stay able to fulfill the needs of the people who are depending on me to do things. But so far, it's just been fantastic finishing my record last year and mixing it and all that, and just finished a video. I just came back from LA where I was there for literally 2 days doing a music video that's going to come out on May 1st, and I'm doing a really, really cool project with a friend of mine named Ichika here in Japan, a guitar project it's going to blow minds. It's blowing my mind working on it, so I just can't wait to play for people, and planning shows, playing in Okinawa and Jakarta Festival and Singapore and Tokyo, and there's kind of a lot going on. It's all good, and the response to the record has been fantastic, and I get to speak to you, which is really nice, and it's just been a really good but extremely busy time.
I get to speak to you. This is the highlight of my week and maybe my month. We talk in our business a lot about, me and my partner, Omar, we talk about like we have to do all the things. We have to keep up with the Joneses. There's so much of a grind. And I think we're in a kind of a grind era where it's normalized to just work yourself to death. But I fear burnout. It happens to me. It's been happening to me, honestly. And I'm struggling to try to do better with my health. I have to. I don't have a choice. There's only one me. And I'm sure there's only one you. So, please protect yourself from burnout. Try to take care of yourself. But I feel like you're like me. I have a hard time saying no, and I need to learn to delegate. Obviously, there's only so much you can delegate in your career because you are the talent, you are the focus and the focal point. So, I hope if you have any strategies or tips for time management or wellness, please let me know because I need help.
It's interesting, that whole thing, and I never used to think about it, but I do think about it more now because the things that I'm doing in the last year, always really been this way, but it's kind of coming to a peak now, is your actions really affect a lot of other people. It's one thing to like have a problem that affects you miss a show or whatever, but missing a show affects a whole lot of people. And so those things kind of force you to keep in good health. And luckily, I've been in very good health forever and don't really have any serious health vices. The worst thing I do is eat a lot of sweets. But I think, yeah, I wish you had the tips for me because I just feel like I'm looking into everything. I'm very just used to it, used to working all the time and being a perfectionist. It's just natural to keep going until it's done, which is something that really right now speaks to me from the record. Recording drama was just absolutely a huge labor of love. And I find that when I do things out of a labor of love, that's when I'm the most perfectionist about it. If I'm doing like a session where it's just, okay, play some guitar and you do a solo here or something like that, of course I'm doing my best, but pretty much anything will do. But sometimes when you really put your heart into something, that's when the work is just endless until you can sign off on it and go, yeah, I'm done. And so that's been happening a lot lately. The upside to that is that means that I'm just doing a lot of things that I really, really enjoy, and I can't wait for everyone to check out. So yeah, just stay healthy, man.
That's it. You got to sleep and eat and take care of yourself because, this is the things you can't get back: time and physical wealth. Health is wealth. I love hearing about all these creative endeavors. And, obviously in the guitar world, us guitar nerds and music nerds, when you put out a record, it's kind of like an event for us. We're all having a moment on the eve of this record. Talk about Frontiers for a second. They're really, we love that label. We cover most of what they put out when we can. And I feel like they're just, so well cultured and so steeped in just all kinds of music and high quality. I feel like from the top down, the label seems to strive to, serve fans and artists equally.
Yeah, I mean, this is my first work with the label, and all the people have just been absolutely fantastic. Yeah, it's my first, and I didn't really know a whole lot about the label before Drama put us together, but I'm finding that they have a wonderful team of people in several different countries, and really with a lot of unique and modern ideas, and I feel like I'm getting a really good treatment. Of course, the record hasn't come out yet, so we'll talk about that later. But up till right now, they're really, crossing all the T's and dotting the I's and all that stuff, and attention to detail and care about getting things right. And seems like, they're putting some kind of good priority on my record. So I'm very happy about that.
Definitely. We're seeing a lot of intention here on the journalistic side where we get a lot of, just a barrage of emails every week, and Frontiers has been front and center. And shout out to my dude John Freeman, who's working the PR for this at Freeman Promotions. It's an old buddy of mine, so he put us together. What is it like for you at this point? Like you said, you have to really bear down and focus to be able to do all these different projects. In the run up to writing and recording, do you do a lot of pre-production at home? Do you woodshed a lot? Do you, are you just composing until the last minute? What does that process look like for you before you go into the studio to record?
Yeah, that is the key. Drama is like my 16th solo album. And I think from around my 5th solo album, I started to realize that rap is the almighty, and it's the key to having a great result. My first 4 records, I barely even made demos, if at all. I just kept it all up in here and spit it all out in the studio with studio clock time running and session musicians hired, and all of that stuff was done before that was done in the studio. And when I did Loudspeaker, which was my 6th solo album, that was the first time I really started doing things correctly. I made demos for a year and a half, and I cherry picked the musicians. This bass player would be perfect for this song. This keyboard player is great on busy stuff, but doesn't have a very soft touch. So we'll keep this keyboard player off the ballads and put this player on maybe a fancy, intricate piano part. And each part, drums particularly, drummers, there are guys who live for playing ballads, and there are guys who live for playing the ultra fast, technical, bombastic stuff. You start mixing those guys up, and you're really going to have a problem in the studio. And from the Loudspeaker album on, I started choosing casting for each song completely different, depending on how the song came out. So I'd work on a demo of a song for months and months. And as it starts to come to life, I'm like, who's going to be great on this. This is going to be perfect for Greg Bissonette on drums because he's like of course he can do everything else, but he's the best ballad drummer I've ever seen. And on drama, it's like 90% ballads. So he was a go-to for everything except one song on the record. And each song has already got the whole concept. It's like a movie, you cast the people for it and you cast the staff for it as well. You cast the studios, and the way I used to do it, and the way a lot of people have done it, is like you write the songs and you get the best studio players you can, these well-rounded people, and you throw them all in the studio. I found that well-rounded people are not the guys that you really want. You don't want a jack of all trades. You want specialty guys who live for that particular vibe of this particular song. Of course, those well-rounded guys, jack of all trades, are extremely convenient in certain situations like live where you got to do a whole lot of different things and all that. And definitely no shade on those guys. But when we were recording, you have the luxury of having each person fit what he does best, what he loves to do, what he can contribute to do, what he can contribute his own thing to. You know what I mean? So if I have a song where, for example, there's a lot of odd time signatures in it, if I find a drummer who lives and breathes for that stuff, he's going to give me options for beats that are better than the beats that I came up with. And that's going to really open up my composing process. So casting is the biggest thing. And I hope that people can see this on the drama album, because I feel like the songs are evolved to the point where I've never really gotten them this far before in my career. Just because I'm better at casting and better at arranging, and definitely better at playing than I was on my previous album, just because of growth and experiences that pile up. So that's the long answer to the short question you asked.
Oh, that was terrific. Thank you for unpacking all that. I love the analogy about casting. It's almost like you're getting to choose your own impossible mission force by specialization. Brilliant. And, I always felt like, even from the very beginning of following you, you've always had a very cinematic feel to your writing. Specifically, obviously people flock to you for your playability, but I think it's the writing and the composing overall that kind of shows off the other things you can do. And I felt like I love the inspired choice about this, just very, like you said, it's all ballads, but it's really very, it wasn't an accident. It's obviously on purpose, and it's obviously with intention. Like I said, you've always been a very intentional writer and player.
Right. Well, I've been threatening to do this album forever. An orchestral, cinematic, uplifting album of just kind of wistful ballads and things that give you chills and maybe evoke some tears along the way, things like that. And I was going to do the album completely ballads for the longest time, just to keep continuity. And then I thought, if I put one really heavy rocker in the middle of this, it would make those ballads sound even more dark and balladish by contrast, which is a very Japanese concept. The contrasts can make both sides sound deeper because you have something to contrast them with. So, if you've eaten something that's very, very sweet and suddenly you eat something that's salty, it seems saltier than it really is. So with that concept in mind, I put one really slamming full-on metal track right in the middle of all of these ballads. And for that, of course, I cherry-picked my live band for that. And it's the first time in my career that I've ever recorded a song with my actual live band playing everything live. Usually I have different musicians, different studios, and then I get my favorite live players to do it live. But this time I love my live players so much that I thought it would be a perfect document to have them play that one song on the record just like we do it live. And as I suspected, it's by contrast, it really makes the other ballads seem more weighty, more deep. And the strategy worked as far as I'm concerned.
Nice. One last question about the recording process. Of course, when you're dealing with, these orchestrations and charts and things, are you still a one or two take person, or do you need to go in for, you said perfectionist, which resonates very heavily with me, as people will laugh hearing this interview, because that's how I am. I'm an over and over drills person until I get it right for me, not for anybody else, for me. Are you still that way, or can you go with feel and say that's that's right and good enough, that's appropriate.
I'm like that with everybody, and everybody knows it. And I love going to work for other people who are like that with me. I love it when people can tell me, that was good, but like, I wish you would do something else on this particular phrase. And I love that because I love the stimulation. Often I will do sessions from now and again, and I'll go in there and they'll just love it right off the bat, which makes me happy. But sometimes I like a little bit of challenge in there. I like them to say, I think you've got a better take in you or whatever. And I love to be perfectionist eyes, so to speak. But as far as my stuff, by the time I get into the real studio to do this stuff, I've been working on demos for over a year. So I've played everything in every possible key and ad-libbed over every possible thing. By the time I get into the real studio, a lot of this stuff just flows right out because I'm already playing it like I'd be playing it live. But this being said, that doesn't mean that I'm not going to take 100 takes to do something and make it better, and take 1,000 takes to get something I'm satisfied with. Sometimes the first take is the one where I go, well, there's no way I'm beating that. That's fine. I love it. But if I don't love it, no matter how long I've been playing on the demos, I'll sit in the studio till I get not everything that comes out of my fingers is good at all. I get lucky most of the time. I mean, most of the best stuff I've done has just been come from luck and preparation meeting, but a lot of it is luck. So, being a perfectionist doesn't mean you have to work yourself to the bone. It just means you have to know when you've got something perfect. And when you do, then you move on and do something else.
There it is. There it is. All right. Thanks for sharing that. Let's do a little track by track. Whatever you feel like sharing about each song, we would love to hear about it from you. I already know what I think of the album. I want to hear from you. So Drama begins with the wonderful track Illumination.
Thank you very much. That one, it wasn't going to be the first track on the album because the song that wound up being the second track on the album, Song for an Eternal Child, that was always my favorite song of the album. But, as in sequencing the record, which is kind of a lost art, in this era of singles and internet and all that. But I still love to think of an album as one piece of work and a cohesive piece of work, like a live concert set list. And that might be kind of a dated concept, but I still love it, and it's very important to me. Illumination just worked at the beginning best, and for some reason that was the song that other people picked up on, people in the industry and people who've been hearing my demos and working with me in the studio. So I kind of just went with that as the first song, and it has a lot of like everything on the record, it has a lot of my key modulations that are kind of important in the raising goosebumps and chills and tears. And that's kind of a little clue into my songwriting process where I use the key modulations, and Illumination has quite a lot of them. That's that one for sure.
Amazing. The second track is Song for an Eternal Child.
Yeah, this one, it has like a lullaby kind of part in it. And I've always been accused of being never growing up, never being an adult, never being a grown up in society, because I'm doing the exact same thing I've been doing since I was 14. Playing guitar, all I care about is rock and chicks. Nothing has changed. So I've never grown up. And I wanted to express that musically. And so one of the themes in this song is a very, very tender lullaby type of piece of music sandwiched in between dramatic parts. And that was really, takes a lot of, I don't know if balls is the right word, but I know that a lot of my fans are heavy metal fans and they like really aggressive music. And it takes a lot of something, I don't know what it takes, but to sandwich a lullaby in between some parts of an already balladish song, borderline stupidity, but if done well, could be nice. And I really was very pleased with the way that came out. And the whole song is so incredibly dramatic by the time you get to the end of it. It's really kind of marks the evolution of what I've always tried to do as a musician. It's all encapsulated in that song. And it's very orchestral. There's a wonderful violin parts and cello parts and piano. And it's just got everybody's in the pool on that song. And it was my favorite during production. And of course, by the time I finished everything else, I can't pick a favorite anymore. But this was always, I knew that since I could write this song, I was going to be able to write an entire album.
Good to know. See, there's that process again. The third track is Triumph, the official version.
Yeah, this one, man, I originally wrote this song in like 1985, which is about 700 years ago. And I recorded it on my Cacophony record. And while I was recording it, my amp started literally smoking. Fire came out of the amp. I don't know why it was smoking. And as it was smoking, the guitar tone was getting better and better and better until it shut off. I never really quite finished the song, and I didn't think it was really done that well anyway. The guitar sounded so good, but it just never made the first Cacophony record. So I rearranged it, put it on my Dragon's Kiss record. At that time, I was in love with Dean Castronovo's drums so much that anytime he would play an elaborate fill, I would just start ejaculating all over the place and just keeping everything. I just loved everything he did, but I was too immature to realize that that song did not need or require so much flamboyant drumming on it. I was just loved his playing so much, I just wanted to document it. And my guitars were too distorted, and the arrangement wasn't right, but I put it out there, and for some reason, it became sort of a signature song of mine. Then I tried to quiet it down on my Scenes album and did it with synthesizers very quietly for my Scenes album. That was very nice, but the synth sounds were very cheap. Hated the way it sounded. It worked kind of okay in the context of the record, but I always kind of had regrets on that. Then this story is way too long. I'm going to shorten it for you. Other things happened, or released on a live album, released demos of it. Never fucking happy with this song, and I always knew it was great. I knew the song was good. It deserved a proper treatment, and I always kind of threatened to do a proper orchestral treatment of this song. And I've been working with several arrangers, orchestral arrangers, specialists. Never came out right. Finally, I found the right combination. I tried it on classical guitar with a world-class classical guitarist competition winner. Didn't work. Tried different orchestral arrangers. Didn't work. Finally got the magic arrangement done. Played my ass off on it. And now I can finally say that I've done my best arrangement on it. I'm happy with it. I still do believe that a great orchestral arranger could probably do a better arrangement of it, and I would love to hear that. However, I'm extremely happy with what it is now, and this for forevermore is the official version.
Amazing. I remember getting Scenes at the old Tower Records in the East Village in New York City, where I'm from originally, and yeah, it was an event for me. It was a moment for me back then. Like I said, nice callback. Thrill City is the fourth track on the record.
Thrill City is that like thrash heavy metal song I was talking about as a contrast to the rest of the album, which is all ballads. So I pretty much gave you the story on that one before.
It's a banger. I love it. I love that track. It's probably one of my top three. Of course, naturally, I'd have to be like, oh, I love that. Of course, it's made for me.
I'm glad.
Specifically made for me.
I'm glad you say that, because I didn't want it to be like a token metal song in the middle of a ballad album. I wanted to make it, like it would fit on any of my heavier albums. So I like this song a lot as well.
That tracks. Deep End is the fifth track on the record.
Deep End was something that came out of me copying something that I heard, almost plagiarism. I was doing this TV show here in Japan where I had to go back and talk about this old singing group from the 70s that I didn't know very much about. And as I've learned on TV, much of TV is talking about things that you know nothing about and being excited about it. So the only way to do that is to really prep your ass off. And so during the prep, I found this song that was supposedly one of the songs of this group I was going to be talking about, and I loved it. And I'm like, there was no title, and it turned out to not even be one of the songs of that group. It was completely untitled. It was just on some end of a YouTube video somewhere. No one knew what it was. So I thought, man, I love this, the feeling of it. And so I took the feeling of it, which is this kind of creepy piano intro, and I changed the chords around, and then that sparked an entire song that's completely unrelated to what I sort of plagiarized. But the whole front half of Deep End is like this creepy piano that contrasts so well from the chaotic ending of Thrill City. I just loved the what happens from after playing a really, really climactic ending and suddenly going to this strange piano intro. I remember when I was directing the pianist how to play, I said, when you play this intro, play it like you're imagining a sad and depressed girl with running makeup, just staring blankly out a windowsill where it's raining and it's dark and raining. Just imagine that girl's image as you play this. And from that direction, she nailed the take. So that's kind of like the image that I got, which is a rare image for me. I don't know why I chose that, but I'm very happy with the way that song contrasts after Thrill City.
Nice. The next track is another one of my favorites, Dead of Winter. I'm a very emotion-driven person, and I love moods, and I'm into a lot of other music that's not metal, but I love anything that like evokes, emotions and moods. So I love Dead of Winter.
Thank you very much. Dead of Winter is going to be the first music video off the record. Comes out May 1st, and I can tell you that it's by far the most ambitious music video I've ever done. I'm still jet lagged from coming back from LA to shoot it. And to leave my house to shoot a video is something that I would definitely try to avoid unless I knew it was really, really special. This song is what stands out to me about it is if you take the vocals off and you just listen to the song, it's very much kind of part and parcel with what would be your typical J-pop hit song. It's a ballad. It's a piano-driven ballad, and the chord progressions and the melodies, the types of chords, the musical motifs, and the key changes, very, very Japanese and almost like nothing you would hear on the American charts. Very Japanese. And Japanese people would be it'd be very easy for them to listen to. But when you put the vocals on top of it, Chris Brooks from Like a Storm sang the song, and he's got a very manly, decidedly non-Japanese voice. So having his voice on this very ultra-Japanese ballad created like Reese's Peanut Butter Cups type of thing, two completely different things that just make one new thing. When you hear the song, you don't think, oh, Japan, and you don't think, oh, America. It's just like it turned out into a new entity. And I feel that it's a wonderful song because of that, and also because the guitar solo, it ticks all the boxes in what I think a guitar solo should be. It's not in a usual place of the song where you have a guitar solo. Usually a guitar solo is like right after the second chorus or right after the bridge after the second chorus. My guitar solo is at the very end of the song. It's very long, and there's no guitar licks in it. It's all melodies. It's all melodic turns and twists. It's not like one guitar lick and then another lick and then a fancy lick and then a tricky lick, and not guitar licks. So I kind of have a feeling, and I really hope that people listen to this solo and they think that it's the one that represents Marty Friedman. Of course, a lot of people choose this solo or that solo when they think of any particular guitar player. And I would be very happy if people felt that way about the Dead of Winter solo, because I particularly like it.
Amazing, and we're big Like a Storm fans here, so Chris rules. That's great. The seventh track is Mirage.
Mirage was an experiment in very unusual arrangements. I'd written the whole front half in my normal fashion of just creating melodies and building up to something, but the last half, I did something new. What I did was I had Gregg Bissonette in the studio. I didn't have anything written musically. I said, let's stick this tempo here and start really slow and sparse with very, very little, and stay in this tempo, but build up for like maybe 3 minutes, which is easy to say, but if you think about it, 3 minutes is a long time to gradually do a slow burn into fierce excitement from zero, starting from something that's very almost like empty to something that is like completely condensed fullness. That's got to be a challenge for a drummer or any instrument player. And so Gregg gave me a couple takes like that. It was such a joy to watch him do this, because I'm sure it's not a request that you get every day. And once I got that, I just wrote music to his drums. It became such a big climax at the end. It really doesn't sound like anything I've ever done before. So that was a new song structure for me.
Nice. And again, I would think you have done everything, but clearly there's still new stuff for you to, discover and explore. That's amazing. Track 8 is A Prayer.
A Prayer. This also might be my favorite track on the record. And sometimes, when you're writing music, it'd be easy or difficult to perform live, because you want to make the art as perfect as possible. But sometimes there needs to be a lot of harmonies and a lot of counterpoint and things you need other players for. Luckily, A Prayer came together where there's very little in the way of things that can't be done simply. I don't even think there's any guitar harmonies on the whole song. It's a very simple piece of music, but hopefully it will evoke some, goosebumps along the way, because it's got the things that I like most about listening to other people's music. Very sweet melodies. And again, I can't pick a favorite, but for a lot of the time making the record, this was my favorite song.
Nice work. The ninth track is a cappella, and shout out for spelling it correctly.
I lucked into spelling it correctly. This is a guitar solo. It's just a guitar solo. What's unique about it is most guitar solos are like kind of impressive little mini symphonettes, so to speak. They're like little pieces of music, something that's impressive. But what I wanted to do was just play something that's like when I'm at home and I just pick up a guitar and mindlessly play, just to see if, who knows, the guitar's in tune, or maybe I haven't played guitar in a few days and I just wanted to touch a guitar. And I rarely play at home, but when I do, it's just completely random like that. And, the total peek into just random playing. My wife's in the kitchen cooking. I'm picking up a guitar and just maybe an idea for a melody or a song might come out and I'll play for that reason. But just random mindless playing kind of is like a peek into what's in the real soul of, I think, any musician. It's not something that was worked on, not something planned out. I just wanted to do something like, if you were to like peek into my house and hear me just playing, that's what you might hear, not something that's dressed up and made for a record. I just thought that was a unique concept for a guitar solo, and I would love to hear what my heroes do in that situation. And for this album being a ballad album, I thought the mood of it might be nice, because that's the type of stuff I usually play when I'm just sitting around. And so I thought it would be a very personal thing to show. And it's not the flashiest thing I've ever done, that's for sure. But it definitely is true to what you might see at any given time in my house.
Awesome. The next track is Tearful Confession.
Yeah, this one, I tried to... I had a goal in mind. The goal was to create a piece of music that starts off sounding desperate and hopeless and just like life is fucked, and then end up in a very positive place, happy, uplifting, and having things work out for you very nicely in the end. That's like really weird. Like I thought, like what's some really depressing, I don't know, maybe like the old Cure songs. Some of the Cure songs were just very depressing, and I love that. But I was thinking, how do I do this in an instrumental song and make it triumphant and happy at the end and not sound ridiculous? That was the goal. And, like when you make a confession, sometimes you're at your lowest point and then you make the confession and then things open up and the world gets brighter again, hence the title. And so that was the goal and the experiment of that song. And I think I pulled it off. Whether or not that makes it a good song or not is a completely subjective point, but that was my goal. And it kind of worked out. The beginning is so dark and gloomy in musical motif. And at the end, it's very triumphant. So, take with that what you will. I think it achieved what I was shooting for on it.
Right on. Much like me, Marty Friedman, secret goth.
A secret goth, yeah.
A secret goth, for sure I am. I definitely am. Icicles is the next track.
Icicles. This one was based on the first demo. It wasn't even a demo. When I was first dating who eventually became my wife, I wrote a song for her. How cheesy is that? You have a girlfriend and you write a song for her and this is for you, baby. But that's just the type of romanticist that I am. I wrote her a little song, and she's a great musician herself, so I don't know how impressed she was with the song, but the gesture was there. It was real, and I never used it for anything. And then I found the song that I wrote for her, and it was a nice little, like about a minute and a half. It had some nice motifs in it that were different from anything I'd ever written before, so I used that as kind of a starting point for Icicles, and I wound up putting it in the middle of the song because it's in a different time signature than everything else. I was glad that I was able to use it and document it and play it really nicely. And the whole thing worked for me. And to me, this is the song that sounds most like it could be on the Scenes album. It just has some of those motifs, but done in a much modern fashion and with much more expertise behind it. And it was a good instrumental album closer.
Absolutely. If you don't mind, for just a couple of quick last ones, there's 2 bonus tracks. I wanted to highlight them because we got to hear them, so I wanted to talk about them, if that's okay. There's the Spanish version of Dead of Winter, which is Tu Rebeldes. If I said that right. Probably wrong.
Yeah. That's Spanish version of Dead of Winter, sung by Stephen Vargas from Apollo 7 or Apollo Siete, as I'm sure that's how they say it. Apollo 7 is a band from Bogota, Colombia, that are really popular there and super, super great friends of mine. We've collaborated a lot ever since I met them when I played with my band in Bogota. I heard their band and I fell in love with their music, and we've become great friends. And I absolutely love Steven's voice. He's a wonderful songwriter and guitar player as well. I urge you to check out his band, Apollo 7. But it's kind of a love letter to my Spanish-speaking fans around the world who I appreciate from the bottom of my heart. And he did such a great job singing it in Spanish and writing lyrics to it, and just killed it. Big home run.
Right on. And then finally, for the bonus track for Japan, we have a guitar karaoke version of Mirage. 1, awesome that you did one, and 2, why is there not more of this?
Japan needs a bonus track because a lot of people don't know this, but the reason why Japan gets all these demos and bonus tracks is because the domestic albums made in Japan, costs like 3 times as much as the American imports. Can you dig that? It's like the opposite of America. When you're in America, when you buy an import, the import costs more. But in Japan, when you buy the import, it costs less. So they need to add value to the Japanese version. So the American artists or European artists give them a bonus track. And a lot of, my listeners want to play guitar along with that stuff. So you give them a lead guitarless track. And this time I put Mirage on there. But to be honest with you, I really don't like the concept of bonus tracks because I like to think of the album as a statement from top to bottom. And when it's over, it's over. But it's just one of the small concessions that you got to make to get through the day. And if fans find extra value in that, that's wonderful. And also, when you listen to the guitar karaoke track, you can see the arrangement things, the little details that I work on. And to be completely frank, I spend about 80% on the details of the arrangement and about 20% on the lead guitars and the melodies and everything that's on top. So you can really see the skeleton of what's going on. So I'm kind of like happy that people get to witness that and hopefully learn something from that. But those are the bonus tracks, and that's why they're there.
Amazing stuff, unpacking all that and sharing all that with us, Marty. Thank you so much. I just have a couple of quick questions left for you, and then I'm going to give you back your day in the future. That hasn't happened yet over here. And so many things to talk about and that I could ask you in our first interview, and I feel so lucky to have chatted with you today. Of course, I'm curious about obviously we talked about how busy you are, but how do you consume music? How do you listen to music for pleasure? What do you do? What's your process like for that? What do you do?
Often, like at dinner time, I'm playing something, background music for eating dinner. And so that's a big listening opportunity. And another way would be, since I live in Tokyo, you're in New York, right? You're in LA, right?
San Francisco. I'm from New York, though.
Completely unrelated to LA, but like New York, anywhere I need to go, I can probably walk there. So there's a lot of walking. I'm listening to headphones, and that's where I review a lot of mixes and listen to music for fun and things like that. And the other way that I listen to music, which is completely selfish, is I just shut everything out and just listen to music that I like and just sit there and listen to that music, just like the way we did when we were little kids. And getting the kind of time to do that kind of luxurious listening treatment is very rare, but that's my favorite way to listen to it. And it's very comforting and fun. And the joy of music is that's the biggest joy in music right there.
So true, so true. And then for a last question, I love to end these interviews with a wild card question. Most of them end this way, and so I crafted one for you. To tie it back to the beginning, I referred to you as an ambassador for music and guitar. In the same way, you've also been a cultural icon and ambassador for Japan. But at the same time, as an expat for a long time, and obviously a prominent figure in Japanese pop culture and music, what has Japan given you just as living there and living life there and experiencing it?
They've given me, Japan has given me opportunities to become much, much more well-rounded human being than I was before I came here. Before I moved to Japan, obviously I had my musical trajectory started and moving and doing well. I had my musical thing together, but I couldn't really talk about a variety of experiences that were outside of touring and recording and things like that, because that's all that I did since I was 14, literally playing music, touring, recording. But coming to Japan and particularly doing things outside of music, like television type of things, I've been able to work with people that are not in the music business, and maybe they're in other parts of entertainment business, but I've done so many non-musically related things that have allowed me to be confident that I can have a conversation that didn't always wind up being talking about some kind of musical thing I'm into or chicks or those type of things. I feel like the experiences in Japan have allowed me to be able to do an interview where I'm not just talking about guitar stuff, which wasn't the case before I moved here. So I'm very thankful about that.
Amazing stuff. Marty, man, thank you so much for hanging out with us today and sharing so much of your story with us. Man, I hope we get to do it again sometime, but either way, it's been an honor, sir. Thank you for everything, and thanks for hanging with Ghost Cult.
My pleasure. Thank you very much. Hope to see you soon.
Take care. Bye.